Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is about running Linux on a 4th gen Apple TV. I disassembled it and it still has the original 40 GB 4200 RPM hard drive. Very slow, an SSD probably would help a lot here. One of the reasons it took me so long to make another video is that I'm working on a website, sort of a blog. I know that not everyone likes watching videos and might prefer reading about the topic. It's still a work in progress. Now onto the motherboard. I removed the Wi-Fi card and the battery. The battery isn't necessary for the system to work. It only keeps the time clock, but it works fine without it. I also tried to solder some wires to the mini PCIe port to get an extra USB, but unfortunately it didn't work. Let's plug in the cables and get started. I raised the device's height to improve airflow and place a fan on top of it, since it gets very hot with the hard drive. For Linux kernel older than version 4, audio via HDMI works, but with newer kernels you only get audio through the analog stereo output. Using a USB hub with the bootloader on a USB thumb drive, let's boot it up. Enjoy the reflections through the video. I fast forward the video here since it takes a few minutes to boot. I select the kernel and I need to run fs. The Linux distro is installed on the hard drive and you can remove the USB stick after the new kernel has booted. I'm using the Antiques or Antique Linux distro, 32 bits. So here's fastfetch Linux kernel 6.10 32 bits. GPU is GeForce Go 7300 and 256 megs of RAM. You can also see some CPU and RAM usage metrics on the side. Let's try some games. First up is Myth2, with native Linux port updated to version 1.8.4 and using software render because OpenGL rendering has some glitches. Some games require forcing software rendering due to incompatibility with the GPU, which is stuck on OpenGL 2.1. Some games run fine and others not so much, as you're about to see. This one is DevilutionX with Diablo 1 port. It runs okay-ish.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Now it's time for Quake. It runs fine. Perfect Dark port needs software rendering and runs so awfully slow that I gave up. Next, 3D Pinball Space Cadet port. It works fine but stutters occasionally, likely due to the hard drive. Dhewm3 port initially seems to run well, but with only 256 MB of RAM, performance becomes an issue. I even increased the swap to 2 GB, but it didn't help much. OpenArena and Return to Castle Wolfenstein had similar issues, so I didn't bother testing them. Moving on, now the word works fine. Outrun runs great. ClassiCube is much better compared to when I run it on the PowerMac G5 video. It works great here. Carmageddon or Dethrace port goes full screen by default and works great. It was my Doom when I was a kid. Wolfenstein 3D ECWolf port works great but requires software rendering. Duke Nukem 3D Duke32 port doesn't work very well. I forgot to mention, to stop the front amber LED from flashing, you need to compile and run the project ATVClient. The remote would work too, but unfortunately mine isn't functioning properly, so I couldn't show it in this video. Redneck Rampage port works almost like Duke Nukem 3D. Need for Speed 2 SA port runs great, with minor stutters likely caused by the hard drive. Let's have a look at the graphics capabilities. OpenGL 2.1 using Mesa through Nblood driver and Vulkan 1.4 with software renderer. Claw port has audio lag. Tyrian 2K runs okay. For Minecraft, I use my laptop as a server to reduce RAM usage, since running single player seems to host a server and client at the same time. I tested version 1.5.2, which was the only one that booted and connected to the server. However, it ran horribly at 0 FPS. Next is GTA Vice City, using the reVC port. Off camera it worked fine and allowed me to drive around, but it would eventually crash, likely due to RAM or hard drive limitations. On camera it froze completely. Prince of Persia port works great. Shipwright or Ocarina of Time port run poorly, so slow that I didn't bother going in-game. Super Mario 64 EX port, on the other hand, works great with native OpenGL too. Dhewm via Chocolate Dhewm port works fine. Sonic 2 port runs slow. Sonic CD port, same thing. but Sonic Mania works great with hard acceleration. Go figure. Wipeout port runs pretty bad, so slow that even broke the game physics. For X-3D Half-Life port, it runs fine with software rendering.
And welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research Facility personnel. The time is...
Zelda 3, A Link to the Past port, doesn't perform well at all. Native Linux 2013 port of Half-Life with OpenGL 2.1 runs fine.
Hello, my God, what are you doing?
Counter-Strike 1.6 Linux 2013 port runs great, though it suffers some slowness due to the hard drive. SimCity 3000 native port runs, but with no sound. I'm not sure why, but maybe I missed installing the ALSA OS package. Room native Linux port has the same issue, no sound. I suspect the Celeste native Linux port would work fine, but I don't have this game to test it. Team Hospital Core 6 TH port runs very slowly. Transport Tycoon Deluxe using OpenTTD works fine, and I even send them the survey letting them know someone is playing on an Apple TV running a 32-bit Linux kernel. OpenGL port works fine. And so does the Caesar 3 port, it's playable.
Let your governorial training begin.
Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 with OpenRCT2, however, runs terribly. Now for the parts that would have been more exciting back in 2007, DVD playback. It's watchable, but will need patience. Moving between full screen and window mode causes frame drops. However, if you leave VLC alone while playing, it works great. I suspect the frame drops are due to the hard drive when the system is running out of RAM. Using a Bluetooth USB adapter, I got a DualSense controller working. Now let's move on to emulators. DOSBox works, but only with less demanding games. I tried GTA 1, but it didn't work. And NES emulator works fine. GBA emulator also works fine. N64 emulation works, but with some glitches. Interestingly, it performs better than native ports like Zelda and Perfect Dark. PS1 emulation works great. Nintendo DS emulation awful painfully slow. It took over a minute just to reach the menu. Atari 2600 emulator works fine. Blast Them, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive emulator works great. SNES emulation also works fine. full throttle on ScumVM. While it works, it plays quite slowly. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos, feel free to leave them in the comments. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into retro hardware with Linux. Enjoy the rest of your day and thank you very much for watching.